Good afternoon, everyone. I extend a warm welcome to Anjali ma'am, Promini ma'am, Shraddhalu ji, all the teachers, and my dear friends. After an enlightening session in the morning of the fifth edition of Spiritual Retreat, we will begin with the second session of the day with our honorable speaker Shraddhalu ji. Shri Sraddhalu Ranade is a scientist, educator, scholar based at Sri Aurobindo Ashram in Pondicherry, India, where he grew up in the care of late Sri MP Pandit, from where he received training in the theory and practice of integral yoga of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. He has been deeply involved in educational research and in teachers training program for 20 years. He has conducted intensive teachers training workshops in integral education and value-based education all over India and abroad. Over the years, more than 5,000 teachers over 220 schools and colleges have benefited from these programs. His book titled Introduction to Integral Education has been widely acclaimed and considered compulsory reading in many schools. He is specialized in physics, maths, and computer sciences, integrating them seamlessly with his philosophical, metaphysical, and spiritual studies. He has been involved in research projects including AI based on neural network, multimedia search and retrieval, image processing and video processing, and assorted simulation tools. He was deeply involved in software research and development for 25 years and for about 10 years in media development, including television programs. He has traveled all the world in over 30 countries, delivering lectures, conducting workshops on integral education, management by consciousness, historic sciences, self-development, the integral yoga, and spiritual practices. He has addressed corporate groups from a wide variety of sectors and has been a speaker at several Rotary international conferences, the United Nations, and various other forums. He believes firmly that the world is transitioning into a new paradigm of living based on a new and spiritual consciousness. Now I welcome Shraddhalu ji to enlighten us.
This morning we spoke of the four powers of the soul through which our divine potential or infinite possibilities work themselves out in life. I mentioned also that this is the same four powers by which the whole universe is created from the original creative divine consciousness. There's a deep connection between the two. So one of the great discoveries of our ancient rishis was that if you go deep enough all the way to your source, until you become conscious of your deepest soul, your true soul, your psychic being, you are an individualized spark, as I said, of the divine. But also there, because it is a part of the divine, you experience the opening out into the totality of everything, of the divine consciousness, but everything is an expression of the divine, so you experience the whole universe as yourself. So there's a very interesting connection. If you reach outward and explore the universe and reach out to widen, 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 until you include everything that exists in the universe, you come to the divine. Equally, if you go inside deeper and deeper and deeper, if you go all the way to the source, you come back to the same one that is all. So externally, objectively, the whole universe, if you experience its wholeness and you go within all the way to the origin and you experience the oneness, they are the same. They are identical. Now, this is a very interesting discovery. And Sri Aurobindo points out it has huge implications for the future of humanity. And I'll just touch upon this so you get an idea of what he is referring to. If we were only a little piece in the universe, doing a little bit, it would be useful, it would be good, but that's all you are. You can never fundamentally change things in the universe. You can never exceed the circumstances which made you, because you are formed of them. You can never become greater than what you're made of, right? But if your deepest truth is one with the origin of the whole universe, then you are in your deepest possibility at least equal to the whole universe, but more likely even greater, because you're one with that which created the universe. You understand? That means your creativity is at least as great as what you find outside you, but can be far greater than what is outside. Or to put it in different words, you have the power to create something which does not exist yet. You are greater than the circumstances which formed you, because you were not really made of the circumstances. You're greater than that in your origin. You're using the circumstances to express yourself, but you are greater. You see how important this idea is. Just this one idea changes everything, changes your sense of what is your role in the universe, changes your sense of what you're capable of doing in your life, changes also your sense of freedom. I'm going to touch upon this a little more now. A computer which you have constructed can only do what you have taught it to do or what you have programmed it to do. You can program it to do things faster because there's a processor which is following sequentially that you can speed up. Just because it does faster does not mean it is more intelligent. See, it is more rapid, but not really more intelligent. Its intelligence is limited by what you are able to create or program. You, on the contrary, even though you appear to be formed of your circumstances, you are born from your parents, you have an inherited biology, you have inherited limitations of your circumstances, even your physical biology has limitations. You essentially are capable of exceeding all those things. And the real sense of our evolution is when we exceed. What would be the utility? Think about it. What would be the utility if all you could do was to create combinations of what is given to you? If your greatest capacity would be just different combinations and permutations of what you have seen or experienced. If your outcome was only the sum total of your circumstances, you would be as if living in a jail of circumstances bound permanently. In fact, this is the belief that many scientists have, because they believe that you are a product of your biology and your heredity and your genes and your physics. And that is the atoms which make you up. And because they believe that, there is even this statement you must be knowing right now. There's a big meeting going on in the World Economic Forum, which is, by the way, a private body, which is promoting these ideas. Their leaders believe that human beings have no free will because we are a product of our biology and our programming. They believe that there is no such thing. God is just a human creation, or the divine is just a fantasy. And because you are a product of your circumstances, you can be programmed or reprogrammed by them. And they actually use this phrase, human beings can be hacked. They can be hacked to reshape their behavior to match whatever these people decide you should. Now remember, this is a belief system shared by many people, especially those who derive themselves entirely from the biology and very materialistic viewpoint, meaning all is created and a result of matter. They believe that. But if you recognize this deeper truth, which we have just spoken of, that we are potentially capable of so much more, then all that they say is false, because we have a true free will. But with our freedom, we are able to exceed our circumstances and change our circumstances. And the attempt to change is our deepest urge. You see, our deepest urge is to be master of your circumstance, including master of yourself, but master of the world around you. So your deepest urge is not only to master, but also to perfect your circumstances. And it's only when you push it a step in that direction that you have the greatest satisfaction. Think about it. You create something which is merely a product of what you already knew. That was nice. When you do something new, at least for you, it's new. Others may have done it. But for you, it's something new. Then you feel, wow, that was so cool, so wonderful, so worthwhile. And you feel a growth and exceeding. And when several of us together, we do something like this, which breaks through our own limitations and creates something new which was not there, we have actually collectively taken a step forward in our evolution, in our potential, which has no equivalent in the whole universe. We've created something new in the universe. So you are the divine creators, so to say, little equivalent, participants in the divine creation. You understand? So there's a way of looking at it. The divine creation is as if setting up a stage and then plunging into the stage as a soul or as so many souls. Each one of us is in potential our divine origin. And we are playing out on the stage to create new things and to rebuild the stage itself from inside the system. We are hacking reality. Not that it is hacking us. We are hacking it, so to say. You see? This is your deepest fulfillment in life. Every time you do this, the satisfaction you have is unequaled. And others also, because everyone grows with you, because each time you grow, you are exceeding the system around you, you are pushing the system itself forward. So there's a very interesting idea. When you grow, others grow with you. They may not always be conscious, but there's a shift that takes place in them. I'll share with you a very interesting observation by scientists who were studying monkeys off the coast of Japan, where there are many little islands. And there are monkeys on different islands that are completely isolated from each other. So they go to one island and they teach the monkeys to wash vegetables in seawater before eating. The monkeys liked it because it was cleaner, it tasted better, and they began to teach each other. And when a sufficient number of monkeys on a single island had learned to wash vegetables in seawater, they found that other monkeys on other islands spontaneously started washing vegetables in the seawater. Very interesting. It's as if when enough individuals had grown, the collective species of monkey behavior at a level of species behavior changed. And all the monkeys began to share in that knowledge as an instinct. They don't know why they do it, but they're doing it because it feels right instinctively. And then, of course, they enjoy and benefit. So think about the implications. So profound. Let's just take all of us today. We are about 49 people. If all of us today make a resolution and make a change in ourselves today, the equivalent of learning to wash vegetables in seawater for the monkeys, but we do something else, let's say. We make an effort that in our thoughts, we will be more clear. With our emotions, we will be more free, open, and optimistic and positive. With our bodies, we will become more conscious and make effort to do things more consciously and more beautifully. Little step, but all 49 of us, we do this together. The immediate ripple effect is on the whole of humanity, where every human being instinctively feels like doing just this a little more. Interesting idea, isn't it? So Sri Aurobindo spoke about this, particularly in the context of the Sri Aurobindo ashram, where at that time a few hundred people were there. And he said the work that you do through the conscious change, conscious evolution, is actually affecting humanity. And the people who are assembled are, so to say, representatives of various human types. This conscious evolution, that is, you change yourself consciously to exceed in consciousness, in your capacity itself, in your quality of awareness. This conscious accelerated evolution is what we call yoga. Yoga, the word means, union. Union of what? You, the surface person, with you, the true person. Or you can say you, this individual, with you, which is the same as the divine. Because remember, they are one. And what does that mean? In that union, it's as if that which is your deepest potential now becomes activated in your most surface parts. It's as if the individual that is you now has the capacity to participate in the same divine creative process, because you represent and express that divinity within you. That is why we call it yoga, union with the divine, with the soul. You see? But it's just a different way of saying the same thing, accelerating your evolution consciously so that you begin to express your deepest and highest capacities more and more directly. That is, what would naturally happen in evolution over a million years, you have compressed into a single lifetime, or perhaps even more into a single year, isn't it? So what would a human being be like after 1 million years? You can't imagine. It's as if the monkey is told to imagine after a million years, there'll be a species we call human beings, Homo sapiens. What will they be like? So the monkey will say, they will be able to jump from one tree to another tree. I can only jump one branch to one branch. They will be able to jump one tree to another tree. They will have very large, long tails, which will be so strong, they will be able to swing themselves much more, right? Their teeth will be so sharp, they'll be able to break a coconut. So the monkey only exaggerates his own capacities and thinks that is the future. But you see, the character of humanity is we are not monkey anymore. That is our exceeding of monkey. We are thinking, sapiens, that means thinking beings. And as thinking beings, we are able to do things which monkeys could not even imagine possible. So for example, you read a book. Let's say you've taken a book and as you're reading, so let's say this is white colored paper with black marks on it in ink. You read, if it's a very interesting novel, you laugh, you smile, you cry. And the monkey says, oh, that's not difficult. I can do it also. He takes the book, holds it upside down because he's not reading. He stares at the paper and laughs and cries and says, see, I'm also like a human being. Would you agree to that? Obviously not. Why? He's doing the same things you're doing, but he's not experiencing things the way you are. He's not in the consciousness of thought, of reason, isn't it? The human mind is a fundamentally different grade of consciousness. So a million years from now, we will have evolved out of human mind into a different grade of mind. Let's call it not even mind, we could give it a totally different name. Sri Aurobindo names it Supermind. And by that, he means something which exceeds mind. Okay? So by definition, it is exceeding mind's capacity. And one of the great things about that is this freer, wider consciousness is able to know things in infinity, is able to act from a freedom of infinity, and of course, lives in a oneness and a divine love and a bliss, which is unimaginable to us as we are in our mind. So those people will not have bigger brains. They will live in a different consciousness. What will they do? Well, they will not need to read books. They will do other things. What will that be? We can't imagine. But that thing which we would reach, let's say after a million years, why can't we reach it now? Sri Aurobindo explains that in fact, up to the human being, evolution had to be pushed by nature. Once we have reached the human consciousness, we are able to observe ourselves, and in the mental awareness, you say, yeah, but today I'm not thinking clearly. My mind is clouded. And you shake off the cloud and make yourself clear by willing yourself free. You observe your emotion and you say, no, I don't want to be angry. And you will yourself to become quiet or happy. This capacity to change yourself did not exist in the earlier stages of evolution. Having reached this point, you are now able to take charge of your evolution and you don't have to wait 1 million years. You can speed up your conscious change and achieve those 1 million years worth in a single lifetime or less. This is what we call yoga, conscious, accelerated evolution. And if you observe, Sri Aurobindo says, our highest ideals are really pushing us towards that. What are you looking for? You want to be, for example, you want to have all knowledge, and knowledge which is completely free of error, isn't it? Your aspiration to know is actually a knowledge to reach the divine omniscience, all knowledge. And it's possible, we are capable of this. Similarly, you want to be all powerful, you want to master your circumstances, you want to experience the omnipotence which is yours in the divine consciousness. Similarly, you want to experience true love, love that is not distorted or limited, which is not mixed with jealousy, hatred, division, conflict. It is a love which can, with a heart that can embrace the whole universe. That's the kind of love we would like to receive, but also to give, isn't it? And you want to be able to create things which are beautiful, which are perfect. You want to be free in your consciousness. So these are some examples of our aspirations. We call them ideals. And we suggest that it's never possible to reach an ideal. In a way, it is true. You can never reach your ideal in your current mental consciousness. That is, the monkey can never become human as he is. But if you shift or open yourself to your own higher and deeper parts, where already a deeper and higher consciousness exists within you, then what you now feel as an ideal can be accessed, can be experienced, and then can be lived in your life. This is what happens by yoga. So Sri Aurobindo explains how when he began yoga, he said, because he wanted to gain enough power to free India from British rule. What happened, of course, was he not only got that power, but so much more that came with it. So in a sense, our deepest aspiration is pushing us already in that direction. The question is, will you really make that effort? Yes, you can. You can spend the whole of your life to develop one side of your capacity and perfect it, but you will not have really gone that far. Or you could turn your awareness inward and become conscious of the divine presence which is within you, where you are one with that which is the origin, and you will experience already inside you that future possibility of 1 million years evolution. And then you can work to bring it out and reshape your mind, reshape your emotions, even reshape your body to express that. So this is the method of yoga. And this is where the practice of turning awareness inward becomes so important. This practice we call, in a very loose way, meditation. The word meditation is very generally used. A whole different kinds of types of practices are all combined under that one heading. But the deeper spiritual purpose of this is really to enter in deep immersion with that which is your deepest potential or your highest potential, and then to be able to activate it within you. So that when you come out from this concentration, you are no more the monkey human, but the superhuman, so to say, in consciousness. You get the idea. Now, this may be the deepest purpose, highest purpose. Not everybody is interested in that, which is also fine, which is valid. Some may say, I just want peace of mind. My life is so stressful, I just want peace of mind. And you can, of course, do exercises to de-stress yourself. You know, people go for a detox treatment, massage, therapy. They take medicines to relax their body, calm themselves. You are only changing the surface. It does not last because the stress is coming from a layer which is behind the surface. Your body is tense, your thinking is stressed, your emotions are tight, but behind that was a distortion in your personality which is causing this. If you really want to be totally free of stress, you should be able to go deeper to that center where there is no stress, where there is only freedom. And then experience that freedom and fill your mind and emotions with it. That would be the perfect de-stress and the permanent de-stress. You will never again get stressed when you live in that. But what they do after failing in the surface methods through medicine and others, they turn to some kind of meditation, which is a partial inward shift, where you feel already a great peace and a calm. And then they say, yes, this is good enough. That's all I need. And they stop with that, which is valid, which is acceptable, if that's all you want. Somebody else says, I need to take a business decision. So you see what has happened today. The environment has changed so much, the business environment, that the world is changing rapidly. So rapidly that the decision you take now, you have no idea whether it will be the right decision because you don't know what the future will be. We have what are called disruptive changes. You've heard the term. The mobile phone is a disruptive change. Until the mobile phone came into people's hands, you had to write a letter to send a message to somebody, which took a few days for them to reach. Now with your phone or with the computer, you type a message, it's instantly there. It has freed you, but equally it has bound you to the machinery and what it can do to influence you. Nevertheless, it's a disruptive change. The result is the post office has become irrelevant today, isn't it? So what do? The post office has to evolve now to find a new function. Otherwise, it fades out. So this is just as an example. The pace of change is now so rapid. You have one disruptive change every year or so. And the result is in your business, you cannot plan ahead because your planning is based on your mental thinking, which does not know. Second, the information given to you is mostly mixed, unreliable, because everybody is putting out there their propaganda. So you don't know whether what you're being told is true or false. And third, the cost of a mistake is becoming bigger. You see, if you go back about 50 years, you could send a message, it would go across the world, the answer would come back after 2 months. Meanwhile, you have time to think, and you can say, yes, I realize, no, that's not the best way. Now you take a decision, in a second, it is amplified and spread out all over the world. You cannot change it. Actions are taken, consequences are met. And if it was wrong, it hits you so hard that you can lose everything. So the time given to you also is less. You have to take a decision now with false information or wrong information, with no understanding of what the future will be. How do you decide? In a way, nature has pushed us to a point where your mind and your reason and logic have failed. She's forcing you as if to reach out to a deeper faculty of knowledge, a deeper power within you that can bypass the appearances and look straight through. We call it intuition. You look at a situation and the intuition says, this is it. So I gave the example earlier this morning. Somebody is telling you a story. It sounds so convincing, but something inside you says, something is not okay. And if you have the intuition at that moment, you can actually catch, yes, this is what happened and this is what he is trying to hide. The insight comes. So this is a power which we all have. It is functioning behind the intelligence. If you can open to the intuition, it can cut through the appearances and show you exactly what you should do. And interestingly, the most successful businessmen today are those who tap into the intuition, not always consciously. I'll give an example. It was a very interesting study which was done. 100 CEOs were given an envelope, a sealed envelope with a paper inside, and they were told, there's a paper inside with a number. Try to guess what the number is. So each one wrote down what they thought was the number. They made a guess. Afterwards, when the envelopes were opened, those who had caught a number which was close enough were the ones who had made a profit in the last 1 year. Those who were way off in their guess were the ones who had made losses. Very interesting. That means they were functioning with some access to intuition, not always consciously, but it was the intuition which was guiding them to make their success. And the same principle now exists in all activities of human life. Without this deeper or higher grade of consciousness that we call intuition, you cannot be successful because of the very nature of circumstances around you. And there's an intuition of the body, which is what we described earlier of the Olympic gymnasts. There's an intuition of the life energies of the mind and so on. Even in the art, there's an intuition which allows you to, we call it inspiration, which allows you to create something new. So all this is to say that our evolutionary potential is in a grade of consciousness just behind, just above the intelligence, in an intuition. And nature is as if pushing you. Rise to that, or you will not succeed, or even perish perhaps as a humanity. So the inward turn of concentration through meditation can actually give you access to that. There are many businessmen, therefore, who meditate in order to find what is the right action they should take to access that intuition, which is also valid. So in any case, the point is all these different approaches to meditation attempt to open to something deeper and higher to be precisely able to give you some capacity or some knowledge or strength to overcome in your present situation. This is the broad background I want to give you about evolution and the place of meditation. This kind of an inward turn is a way to access what are inner and higher capacities or layers of consciousness and their powers within you. Now, you may choose to go partially or you may choose to go fully and go all the way to the source. And that's the difference between the yogi and then the person who seeks merely some temporary benefit. So this was the background regarding meditation. One of the key ideas, though, in all these practices is to be able to quiet the surface part of you so that you can access the deeper and higher parts of you. Now, behind this is a very deep perception that what you experience yourself to be is only a very narrow, superficial part. It's like the proverbial iceberg. You know an iceberg sitting in water? The portion of ice hanging above, which you see, is only 1/10. 9/10 is underwater. Try it out when you go home. Take a cube of ice from the fridge, drop it into a bowl of water. Notice how much floats above. It's about 1/10, sometimes less. So when a ship is going in the ocean, they see a little iceberg. It looks small, but the reality is there's a huge thing behind, and if the ship bumps into that thing which is below water, it will sink. Well, our personality, the part that we are conscious, is not 1/10, 1/100th of our full reality. There are layers within, behind, above, of which we are not conscious, but those are fully conscious and they are conscious of us. Think about it. How do you, for example, when you're trying to solve a problem, how do you know which direction to explore? So somebody gives you a maths problem, let's say. It says, okay, solve this. You try out something, and then after a while, the teacher asks you, how far are you? I'm almost there. The first question, how did you know where to look for an answer? How to find an answer? Second, how do you know that you're almost there when you don't have the answer? Interesting. And when you get the answer, you say, I've got it. How do you know that is the answer? Because something inside you at a deeper layer already knows what you're looking for. And the moment you start looking, it pushes forward the deeper knowledge, and you feel a resonance. You feel it is close. You feel it is coming into you. And notice when you actually get an insight, it goes, poof, it comes out like that from inside as a brilliant idea. I got it. But you didn't think it, you received it. It popped up inside you. Think about it. Isn't it? Or I'll ask you to do a simple exercise. I want you to think about, remember the first time that you went on the seashore, or a holiday that you had on the seashore, the first that you can recall. Now, in a moment, you have got something, some memory. It may be first, it may be second, but pretty much among the first few. Imagine what happened in your mind just now. If you did a Google search, find photo of the first beach holiday. What Google has to do, it has to index every single photograph that it has in its entire collection, which goes into billions. Then it has to go through sequentially, one after another. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Accumulate all the beach images and then sort them out, which is first, which is first, which is first, until it finds. And to find the first, it has to go through every single photo, just in case there might be another that is earlier. Okay? So the search engine does this relatively fast, but it needs to go through every single photo one way or other. In your mind, did you have to go through every single photo? Did you have to go through every single memory of your life even? Nothing. What did you do? Observe carefully. Your mind turned to remember, and it as if turned inward, looking for a memory inside you. And then from inside, a memory came out. And you said, this is it. I got it. Think about it. This is something fascinating. You did not remember. You intended to remember, and the remembrance came into you. You notice that? You agree with me that it came from inside when you chose to remember, isn't it? Or if I say, remember your first day at school, you turn to remember and the memory comes up. You didn't have to search through every single day of the whole of your life. So what this means is, at a deeper level, behind your mind, behind your surface mind, I will say now, all memory is there of your whole life. And it is conscious of you on the surface that says, I want to remember this beach holiday. And the moment you turn to remember, it says, here, take it. And it puts forward the memory. Think about the implications. That means, in principle, right now within you is the capacity for total recall of your entire life memories. Or rather, the total recall exists at a level from where the memory is pushed forward when you turn to remember. Can you imagine what is the power of your intelligence which is lying, waiting behind the surface working? So the scientists observe a little bit of this and they come up with this very interesting calculation. They say, we use barely 1/10 of our brain power. Partly true, and it is based on the brain studies which see only 1/10 of the brain activated when you're trying to remember or you think. Their idea is the brain is like a computer, so if all of it was activated, then you would think or you will be more intelligent 10 times over. Not really, because the brain is not your thinking power. Your brain is not your mind. It is only the instrument of your biology that acts as the interface to your mind, which is itself infinitely large, or at least has a power which is infinitely great. And your surface mind is this tiny part of the mind that is tied to the brain. You recognize that now. That's why you feel bound to the body and your brain. You say, I am thinking. And this surface part, which is tied to the brain, is the part actively trying, can I think, when you're trying to solve a problem. But if this part becomes very quiet and allows the larger infinite mind operation from behind to come forward, it will just come like this and poof, you will know, yes, this is what it is. You've heard of prodigies, mathematical prodigies. They have some extraordinary capacity. You write a 10-digit number on the blackboard and the person comes and writes the square root of this number, just like that. Meanwhile, a computer takes 15 seconds to calculate what this person just did. There used to be a famous lady called Shakuntala Devi. She used to do these demonstrations, you may have heard. If you ask her, how do you do this? I don't know. I just look at the number and the answer becomes obvious. The same way as you had your memory of the beach coming forward when you wanted to know. You understand? You can train yourself now to access knowledge of the square root of a 20-digit number because the knowledge is already there in your infinite part of the mind behind. But that mind thinks differently. It does not think sequentially like a Google search. It is simultaneously aware of all the infinity of knowledge and just draws out whatever it needs without needing to search. This is your mind in a deeper and higher functioning, behind the surface part of the mind, which is tied to your physical brain. So a very simple exercise of turning in, and I will now use the word meditation, is a kind of a meditation practice which will allow you to turn in, open to this knowledge and this power of intelligence and access whatever you wish to know. Isn't that wonderful? Wouldn't you like to have that? Wouldn't you like to have not only the knowledge, but the inspiration that will flow from such a mind that can create anything, solve any problem, that can create a masterpiece of a novel or a work of art or a piece of music or dance, or organize something in life which was never before done, and the power is already there within you, already existent. By uniting with that level of consciousness, and this is not yet your full divine potential, by opening, by turning, opening and uniting with this power of the higher inner mind, uniting, that is yoga. By yoga, you have access to this. You see, I'm using the yoga in the true sense of the word, not as a practice or a discipline that people follow by stretching their arms and legs. but by a psychological process of opening to your deeper and higher potential. Okay. So we will use the word meditation in a more general way now. By such a process of turning in, you have access to everything potentially. All depends on how deep you are able to go or how high a grade of awareness or power you're able to open to. This is, in essence, very simply it. Sri Aurobindo puts it in very simple terms. He says that your evolution is nothing but your inner and higher potential now coming forward and organizing itself in your surface part. That's your evolution. Very simple way of looking at it. Because we are already that which we are trying to be here on the surface. So this is the broad background of the importance of such a practice. So I have titled this discussion as the importance and value of meditation. So now you get the importance of it, what it can do, what yoga can do. Okay. Now there are many means for this turning and uniting yoga. Many approaches, many forms of practice also that you could conceive of, and you can play with it. You can create your own variations of these forms, which make for various systems. But Sri Aurobindo broadly categorizes them in, broadly I will say 6 kinds. I won't go into this now. I will only touch upon 2 or 3 forms of practice that will be of immediate value to you. But just to know that there is a larger body of knowledge and even of practices that you can experiment with. Well, the basic idea behind these is to recognize that already within you, nature has implanted an impulse. In fact, not one impulse, 3 impulses, which are meant to help you to grow through yoga. Okay? The first great impulse is what we call desire. Ichha. What you don't have, you desire. Think about it. Very interesting. You don't desire that which you have. So let's say you don't have a capacity, you desire. You look at somebody else, you feel jealous. What is jealousy? It is just a recognition. I wish I could do that. It's actually a positive thing if you give it a positive turn rather than a critical turn. Say, I also want to do this. I also want to learn this. Isn't it? So desire is really an attempt to acquire that which you don't have. And nature uses that as a push to make you grow. The error of desire is to try to acquire it by external means. The correction is to acquire it by an internal inward turn to get the capacity, the thing itself. So what do you do? You look at a beautiful object in the shop. You say, oh, this is so beautiful. I need to have it. You save money, you buy it, it's come, you show it around. So first you appreciate, and then once you're bored of it, because how much can you appreciate, you start showing others and hoping they will praise. Eventually you've shown it to everybody in your family and then your friends. Now there's no one else left to show. It gets boring, you set it aside, and then you forget about it eventually, isn't it? Now you desire the next thing which is there, which you don't have. So the attempt or the erroneous attempt of desire is to reach out and own everything. Where will desire stop? Only when it can own the whole universe, isn't it? So obviously you can't do that. Or if you try to do and someone else tried to do, you will collide in ownership. And so there'll be war, which is the basis, or rather desire is the basis for so many conflicts. So the correction is you go within, recover that awareness in which you experience yourself one with the universe, and now suddenly it is yours already. Oh, this is so beautiful. I'm so glad it is there in my home, which is this universe. I own it already, right? Think about it. So you have an object that you like really much. And what do? Then you give it to somebody that you really care for, isn't it? Your parents are very happy to gift you what they have struggled to hold and to build, because you are as if a part of themselves. But when you experience the whole universe as a part of yourself, you're happy to share everything with everyone, because it's always yours anyway. Nobody can take it away from you. So that's when the desire gets fully satisfied, when you recover that oneness. Think about it. So the drive of desire is actually attempting to help you grow to yoga. There's another impulse within you, the impulse to understand. And this we spoke of briefly in the morning. See, the way it works, if you see someone perform a magic trick, the first thing you ask, how did you do it? Isn't it? Once they've revealed to you, now it's no more interesting. The next thing I want to know, and the next, and the next. It's like the desire, but it is in the domain of mind, while desire is an impulse in the domain of emotions, of life energy. So there's a third impulse. Which domain will it belong to? You have had emotions, you have had mind, which is the third domain? Your body, action. So the impulse to act is the third impulse within you. Every time you know something, every time you have a capacity, you want to express, you want to act, you want to manifest what you are within you as a capacity, as a potential. So the urge to give form to what you're capable of doing. So there in Sanskrit, we have three words: Ichha Shakti, that is the desire energy; Jnana Shakti, the energy to know; Kriya Shakti, the energy to act. All three really are secretly a divine impulse inside you, pushing you to grow, to evolve, to yoga. All three are only satisfied when you reach that deeper and higher part that is yourself. Now, I explain this in some detail because you will see there are broadly three kinds of yoga practices which rely on these three impulses. If these three impulses, which are already pushing you, you cannot live without these three. They're always driving you. If instead of turning them outward, like we saw with the desire impulse, you turn them inward. Desire to know, to become, to act from your own deeper, higher potential. Just turning inward, it continues, takes you all the way to yoga. So there are three forms of yoga, which are known as Bhakti Yoga, which come from the turn of the heart to the divine presence within you. With devotion, with love, you give yourself to the divine. So some of you in the morning, you greeted each other saying, Jai Shri Krishna. Why would you remain Shri Krishna? Why would you remember Shri Krishna? Because somehow the name itself reminds you or awakens in you a certain love and joy. And in the relationship of Shri Krishna, which is the relationship of joy and self-giving blissfully, that changes you. Naming, remembering somehow changes you, and the heart opens. If you meet each other and express the words of abuse, your hearts will close and you will collide. If you exchange words of affection or remember Shri Krishna and greet each other, your hearts open and you come together with affection, isn't it? It changes your behavior, it changes your relationship with everyone. So this is the nature of the heart opening of the Bhakti Yoga. You open with the heart, remembering the divine with love, open yourself with love and give yourself with love. So there are two ways here also. You can turn inward with love or you can turn outward with love. Doesn't matter. We'll come to that shortly. Similarly, so this is the Bhakti Yoga approach. There is the Jnana Yoga, the knowledge, where the mind now begins to perceive what is divine. Now there's a way to say everything is an expression of the divine, but the form is not divine. This is ugly. Divine is not ugly. It is something beautiful and harmonious. So it's as if you cut through appearances, trying to distinguish between what is permanent and what is transitory. And you begin to realize that in all your friendships, there is a part that is true, which is permanent. There's a part which is changing. And you make the difference. In your understanding of the world, you go for what is true. This is actually the way of science. What does science try to do? It's understanding reality by peeling off layers. So first you are told, oh, this is made of wood, this is made of paper. But science says, no, look deeper. Peel off the layers. That is only an appearance. This paper can be bent. The reality under it is molecules. Then they say, no, molecules is also transitory. Behind that is the permanent reality, which is atoms, which are made of permanent particles. So it's an attempt to look behind appearances to distinguish the permanent reality from the superficial transitory. And this is the way of Jnana Yoga. But not only turned outward to understand the world, but also turning inward and observe yourself. Notice how your emotions rise and fall, your thoughts come and go, but behind it, there's something more permanent that is more truly you, isn't it? This morning we spoke of this inner person, inner soul. That is always permanently happy and positive, even if on the surface you have waves which change. And the true permanence is in the inmost, which is your psychic being. So this kind of a discrimination through the mind leads you eventually to the divine within as well as around outside. Karma Yoga, so this is Jnana Yoga. And the third is the Karma Yoga, which takes the work itself as your starting point, because you realize finally you have to act all the time. Even if you think you're going to sit on your chair and eat potato chips all day long, maybe you fall sick, but you still have to breathe. Your heart has to beat, right? So in order to be, you have to be doing something. And even if you're not doing it consciously, you're doing it unconsciously. So the idea is, instead of allowing an unconscious life, you turn that unconsciousness towards, or you turn the activity of life towards the inner and higher truth. So you take the work you're going to do. Let's say now you are going to travel home. As you walk, you have to walk. You don't have a choice. Why are you walking? Because I have to get home. Yes, not very interesting. Try to make your walk conscious. Why are you walking? I'm walking so that I can express in my walk a kind of a beauty or an aesthetics. Can I make my walk more harmonious? Can I make my body more conscious? That's more interesting. Try it out. You'll see it's quite fun. Or I'm walking, I'm writing, I'm speaking. I do this as an offering to the divine who is working through me, who is working in the whole universe, because the greatest worker is the divine worker. I just happen to be the little wave on the ocean, and it's ocean which is waving around. So the idea is, by immersion in this idea that all the work you do is being done or is done as an offering, you align yourself again to the divine within you or outside. Now, all this is, I'm sorry to give it in a very rapid summary, but to give you an idea of the different approaches to yoga. In each of these, you'll see the common idea is you are turning yourself and your awareness to something deeper and higher within you or even outside. It does not matter. They both will lead you to the same. But the inward process will be more direct, more rapid. The outward process will be longer but more rich, which, as I said, was more close to the way of science. Or the artist who looks for beauty in nature and captures the beauty in a painting is also a form of yoga, but a slower process. Having understood this, I'm going to bring it to a more practical level. Turn with your heart with love, turn with your mind with the seeking to know, and turn with your actions as a way of, as a consecration, as an offering to that which is within you as the divine. This is your single, direct, shortest way of opening and becoming conscious to that presence, which is yourself, which is also the divine, because the two are one in their deepest truth. When you learn to do this, bit by bit, you acquire an access to your own inner and higher layers and the natural powers which belong to them. The result is, when you come out from that immersion, you come out a different person. You come out a new person. You're not the same person. Now, this is not something very unusual. Think about it. You have been to a music concert where you came away and you said, wow, this was so wonderful. You've equally been to a party or some other music program where you came away and said, that was so boring, right? What made this interesting and that boring? Think about it. Can anybody tell me what is it that makes the two different? What's the character of something which was interesting You went in, you came out, and you say, it's interesting. The other thing, you went in, you came out, and you said that was boring. What's the difference in you? Somebody, feel free to speak, or you can message. One thing you notice, there where you went, which was boring, you went, you came back, you were the same. Yes, there's a difference of vibes, the connect, the energy. Shalini, Sarthak have commented. The effect of those vibes or that energy on you was, in the boring place you went, you came out, you were the same. In the interesting place you went, you came out, you were changed by the vibration, by the connect, by the experience. You were changed. Therefore, that was interesting because you grew. Where you went and you came out unchanged, that was boring. Think about this. This is a very important idea. You go to a class, you come back, this was so interesting. Why? You grew a lot. You went to another class, I knew some of those things, some things were new, it was nice. I grew less. I went there, it was boring, I came out because there was nothing to learn, nothing to grow, no change in it. Right? Boring equals no growth. Interesting equals growth. Rather, growth equals interesting. Think about it. Very interesting idea. So whenever you find in your life that your life has become boring, it's because you're not growing. Change what you're doing. Change your motivation. Change the forms. The moment the growth begins, you'll find your life becomes interesting. Now, exactly this happens when you go inward in a deep inward concentration or meditation. If you go deep enough, you have touched a deeper and higher part of yourself. You come out, you are no more the same person. You have changed, you have grown. And that was so wonderful, so interesting. It fills you with joy and it is so happy. So meditation, in fact, is never boring when it is done correctly. If you're only going, closing your eyes, daydreaming, repeating some words, visualizing something nice, maybe you feel relaxed, you come out, but not much has changed. That was not really a spiritual or yogic meditation. Okay. So this is just to give you a background of what happens in meditation, that you come out fundamentally changed because you come in touch with the deeper part of yourself, which is greater and higher. With it come these powers, this capacity of the inner mind and still other faculties of intuition and knowledge. All that is available. So this is the background I give. Of course, with your heart, you can't open to knowledge. With your heart, you open to love. But in the opening to love, your mind turns and follows, and the knowledge also comes. So a lot depends on what is your idea of that to which you're concentrating. You see, you can know that in so many ways. You can know that as somebody up there sitting in some heavenly domain. So you turn, why should I open? Why should I call God? Why should I pray to God? He's sitting, he's busy. Why will he listen to me? That's one way of looking at it. And yes, you're right. If someone is sitting on a throne somewhere far away, he has better things to do than to listen to you, right? So this is unfortunately the idea which many religions have promoted. But the experience of the Indian civilization or the yoga tradition is that the divine is not something far away. The whole universe and everything within you is made of the divine energy, the divine presence, the divine love. What is an atom? Ask a scientist, they'll say, it's made of energy. A particle is made of energy. Where did the energy come from? It was always there. And they will tell you the whole universe is an ocean of energy, and the energy is whirling, and the whirls form the particles which make the atoms, which make the molecules, which make the cells, which make your body. Right? What does yoga tell you? All this is formed by the divine creative energy we call Divine Mother. The only difference is science says that energy is automatic, unconscious, but we don't know where it came. Whereas yoga says that energy is entirely conscious. So the whirling energy which forms the atoms is a conscious energy of the Divine Mother and the divine love. So your body is made of what? Foam of divine energy. The love you feel in your heart is coming from where? From the love with which the divine forms the whole foam of the world. And that reflects in your heart. And so you feel love. It was not your love, it is the divine's love that's flowing through you. The intelligence you have comes from where? From the knowledge of the divine as it forms the foam and fills the foam with its light, which reflects in your mind, and you say, I am so intelligent. Think about it. When you think of it like this, your perspective changes. So when you're praying, you're asking for help, the divine is not far away. The divine is already inside you, in your intelligence, in your heart's love, in your body's tissue. And the response is instant inside your tissue, inside your mind, inside your heart. You don't have to wait. So, people say, I asked, give me this, help me in this. And then I'm looking around. I'm waiting for someone to appear and say, tathastu, now you have what you wanted. No, but the help was already given inside you. You were not even conscious. Okay. So all this is to give you a very different way of relating to the divine, not something far away, but here the very substance of yourself and of the universe. So when you look at a beautiful scene in nature or a beautiful flower, it is the divine presence which gives it the glow of beauty. The joy that you feel in looking at a beautiful scene is the divine presence within you enjoying itself. This idea is very deeply formulated in a prayer, or I will even say a mantra, which was given to us during the Indian freedom struggle. You know the mantra which is called Vande Mataram. You must have learnt it by heart, I suppose. Some of you do know it. Okay. If you have not, then do learn it. But one of the very beautiful lines, it is of course addressed to the Divine Mother as Mother India. And in service to Mother India, the yogi chants this. You see, it was a mantra, Sri Aurobindo says, because it was the means by which India was given the power to become free. And with the name Vande Mataram on their lips, the freedom fighters went forward and faced the struggle. Ordinary people coming out from ordinary circumstances of life suddenly found themselves filled with tremendous energy and strength and intelligence and skill to fight for India's freedom. Because they asked, they invoked Vande Mataram. Invoked Divine Mother as Mother India. So there's a great power in this recognition, in this awakening, because now the divine is not far away. The Divine Mother is here. She is Mother India. She is your mother. She is the intelligence and knowledge within you. So in that Vande Mataram mantra prayer, there is also this expression, this exaltation. He says, Bahute tume ma Shakti. In the arms, you are the strength, Divine Mother. Hridaye tume ma Bhakti. In my heart, you are the devotion. And in my mind, you are the intelligence. And then it says, Tumari Pratima Gauri Mandire Mandire. Your image is installed in temple and temple. Which is the temple here? Your heart is the temple. So you see, the way of experiencing the divine is not going out to a temple outside, is not going looking for forms outside. Here within you is the Divine Mother's temple presence, in which lies the presence already, unworshipped, forgotten, because you're too busy looking out. Turn in, become conscious of the presence, and love her presence within you. Or if the natural form in which you embody the divine presence is your Sri Krishna, or whatever the form of deity, we call it Ishta Devata, your desired form in which you love the divine, will turn within you and worship the divine within. And know that the strength in your arms comes from that divine strength. The intelligence is also the divine intelligence, and the love is the divine. Now, in this way, the turning into immersion is also a form of meditation, isn't it? But the advantage of this form of meditation is you can be living your whole life in a meditation with this awareness. Think about it, isn't it? So if you dedicate your entire life to the service of Mother India, who is for you embodiment of Divine Mother, who is, of course, Mother of the whole universe and all beings, then your whole life becomes a form of meditation. And by opening to her, you have the intelligence, the strength, the love flowing through you, always. It's a form of meditation, but a practical, dynamic form of meditation. Okay? So I will suggest for you to practice this every day. Every day, before you start your day, before you leave for school, perhaps before you eat. The best time would be just after you've finished your shower, you've put on your clothes fresh, sit quietly. Chair, room, floor, wherever it is, you sit quietly. Close your eyes, turn within with devotion, with love to the Divine Mother's presence within you. Invoke her and ask her, if you like, formulate with words. Fill me with your love, fill me with your intelligence, fill me with your strength. Or you can do it without words. Just open yourself with the idea that she is filling you and just receive all that she fills you with. And what will happen is, it is such a joyful experience. You do this, you sit, after a while you say, I just won't feel like sitting longer. Fine, as long as you like. Feel this and then say, now the rest of the day, whatever I do, I offer to you. And I do it in service to you. Remember Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga? Well, this would be the basic principle. Here I hold with love and I say, here, all that I will do, I offer to you. And then you get up and start your day. If you can, during the day, every now and then you remember the morning's concentration and invoke that and say, here, fill me with your knowledge, fill me with your strength, let me grow, help me to grow, you grow in me. Various ways in which you can feel or express this. Without words, with words, doesn't matter. But you feel. And by feeling, you will feel that presence growing in you, strengthening in you, and wisdoming in you. You see? And this is a yoga. The result will be, you will find over a few days, over a few weeks, you will grow so rapidly. So many capacities will begin to open within you. And potentially, there's no limit. Very simple exercise, very simple form of meditation. And I'll ask you to do this. Do this if you like today, immediately after this session, sit quietly, remember, and then tomorrow morning and every morning if you like. So my suggestion is to make this a normal practice of your daily life. I will also lead you through a different form of practice, which will be much more centered in the mind's awareness. But before that, I will take a few questions. You can write or message, or there's right now someone has raised a hand. Anusha? Go ahead, Anusha.
Actually, my mother is also a spiritual practitioner. She also does all of this meditation. I have just started it. I am just on the initial level. So I always feel when I meditate, there is something that I am missing. There is something which is, there with me. So, sir, how to get rid of that?
So what do you do when you're doing the meditation?
Sir, I sit on the floor. It is like in the morning, I sit on the floor. Right in the morning, after I wake up and just take a bath and everything, I sit on the floor and for 5 minutes I meditate. And my brain in 5 seconds, it thinks so much. And
Right.
So I start feeling that there is something when I just open my eyes. For 2 seconds, it is completely blank. I cannot see anything in front of me. So, sir, how to get rid of that feeling that is inside me?
So the first thing you notice, the moment you close your eyes, you notice the whole clutter of thoughts. And all these thoughts as if rushed into you from the moment you closed your eyes, isn't it? I think all of us have this experience. You're not alone in that. But actually what the experience shows you is how much junk is going on in your mind right now that you are not conscious of. Because you're busy turned outward, inside you there's this whole clutter. It's like a marketplace, a bazaar of activities of thoughts. When you turn in, you become conscious of the bazaar and then you feel overwhelmed. Oh my God, what a mess it is. I'd rather my mind became quiet. And I will show you later in a short while, I'll show you how to make it quiet. But when you make it quiet and then you turn outward, you'll find your mind is so much more clear, so much more powerful as a result. Remember what I said about the scientists saying we use 1/10 of our brain? That's because 9/10 of the brain is wasted in this mechanical activity of useless thoughts which are going on just as a habit. So imagine you're sitting to write or to paint. and every muscle in your body is twitching. Okay? Try to paint or draw something or write something. You can't. Right? You need to make everything quiet so that only the muscles you choose move. Then you will be able to do something perfectly. Well, the same thing happens in your mind. If you have right now dozen different thoughts going on, you cannot think clearly of one thing because all those dozen thoughts are creating noise. And that's what you're discovering the moment you closed your eyes and discovered, oh my God, what a mess. And we will shortly discuss how to make it quiet, and we'll go through an exercise. But once you're able to do that, you can train yourself to keep your mind quiet almost all the time and think only what you want to think. The result will be when you think, your power of thought will be amplified tenfold, at least. Okay? And this will be one of the benefits you will have from this. But for now, what I will suggest when you sit in the morning is do this exercise of opening in love to the divine presence within, as Divine Mother, as Mother India, in whichever way natural to you, and just invoke the love, the strength, the knowledge. Do it as an active process rather than just closing eyes and remaining blank. Okay, so this is, I would like you to try this and then let us know how that works. And someone else had a question. Distinguish between mind and brain again. This is Saransh is asking. You'll notice I described the mind's power, which is something far greater. So when this mind, which is more truly your mind, leans and joins with the biology body, the part that hooks into the brain and joins with the brain is what we call the surface mind. That's all you are conscious of, because you're fixed in your body awareness. So it's as if the tip of the iceberg, the part identified with the physical brain. So if you give a knock to the head, you go unconscious. But that part, which is your true mind, is always free, always awake. This part, which is we call the frontal mind, surface mind, identified with brain, is the part which is narrow, limited, dull, has to struggle to think. So difference between mind and brain is that the brain is only the biological organ through which your mind connects with the body. And so through the body, it can move your arms. See, if I disengage from the body, I'm this wide mind. But if I don't plug into the physical body, how do I control the arms? So the moment I lean in and plug in, this is the organ, the brain, through which we plug in. Actually, it extends more than the brain through the whole nervous system. The mind extends into the body through the nervous system. And the result is there's a part of mind which is in your hands, which is independent of the brain. So when you play a musical instrument, it is this part of the mind which is acting directly, bypassing the brain itself, and has its own intelligence in the hand. So the actual nature of mind in the body is much more than just brain. And the two are different. Brain is only an organ. Mind is the actual awareness, which extends through the nervous system and not just through the brain. Anybody else has a question?
So, sir, can we say that mind is our consciousness and brain is just physical part of it?
Yes. Brain is the organ. Mind is the consciousness. Yes, in a way you can say that. But it's not limited to brain. Remember, if you observe the brain, it goes down through the back, through the spinal column, and opens out into the whole body through the nerves. The same structure of cells. So actually, brain includes the entire nervous system, and the mind plugs in, of course, much more in the brain part, but eventually through the whole nervous system.
So basically, mind is intellect, formless intellect. It does not have any form.
Exactly. Mind is also substantial. It is formless, but it is substance. It is not sitting idle as an abstraction. It has a substance that actually fills the brain and fills your body with a substance, which is substance of mind. So there are practices in which you can experience this substance. You can even direct it. You can intensify your awareness in a part. So for example, you take your palm. Try this as an example. Take your right palm. Feel the center of it somewhere here. Okay. And just feel the sensation there. And keep your awareness concentrated in the sensation. Keep doing it. You notice a kind of a tingling, as if something is touching, maybe a warmth, and let it grow, let it become more intense. Put more attention there until it becomes more intense, more warm, more tingling. And maybe you feel it like a hole, or you feel it like a projection, as if something is acting or moving, and just let it grow. So just now you notice in your palm, through the entire palm, that center point is more conscious, but is also more warm immediately that you make it more conscious. Interesting. So you actually directed your mind awareness, and there was a substance of awareness which gathered there and became more, yes, somebody, Archana says tingling, yes. And all you did was direct your mind, nothing else. But the result was physical. Physical tingling, physical sensation, nerve activation, increased blood flow, capillaries dilate. All that happened as a result of mind awareness. So mind awareness is not an abstract thing. It is a substance of mind, which is infused in the biology and actively changes the working of biology. Okay? Does that make sense now?
Yes.
You can
So
actually direct it and even project it outside your body.
So, sir, is mind a personal entity in everyone, or it's quite impersonal?
So there is a large, infinite, universal mind, of which a special condensation is your personal mind. So there's a part of your mind which is personal to you, which you don't share with others. But if you go deep into it all the way back, then there's a point where it opens out into a universal mind in which you will feel other people's mind as special focal points. And when you become aware of it, or at least its influence grows strong in you, you will be able to look at people and you will sense their thoughts because they're taking place in this universal mind. So as an analogy, you can use the analogy of an ocean. Each one of us is like a little whirlpool in the ocean. So we have a unique character of the whirlpool, but made of the same water which is shared by everybody in the universal ocean, universal mind. And that's why if you put out a strong thought, the thought floats out as a ripple in the ocean and touches other people's minds and can awaken within them and even influence their thinking. Equally, you are being influenced by other people's thoughts. So we share a universal ocean of mind, of which there is an individual world which is distinctly ours. Is that clear?
Yes. So, sir, the sense of freedom, which is our basic necessity, is it the willingness of the mind? We can't say it's the willingness of the brain, of course. No.
It's not a willingness of the brain at all. The brain doesn't think by itself.
Yes.
It is the mind in the brain that is thinking. The brain is only reflecting your thought as ripples of electricity. So it's not ripples of electricity which become your thought. It's rather your thoughts which trigger ripples of electricity. Like you felt the tingling because you put your mind there. Similarly, your mind infused in the brain activates the brain and makes it ripple around with electrical signals. Okay, so mind triggers brain, not the other way around.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sraddhalu, similarly, there is a universal vital and there's a universal physical, right? And we are individual whirling of that.
Yes. So think of your body. What is your body made of? Ultimately, it's made of the food that you eat, which came from out there in the environment, right? So the soil of the land became plant, which you ate, which became your body. And then the waste from your body is thrown back, goes back into the soil. So your body is as if a knot in the whirl of matter in the universe, a special knot through which matter passes continuously. But the fact that it maintains an overall shape is your illusion that, oh, this is me separate. Actually, you're not. You're totally dependent on this continuous inflow and outflow of physical matter. The same thing, of course, in life energies. Your life force body, pranamaya kosha, as we say, body of energy, prana, is also drawing from the universe and flowing out into the universe, just as your mind is drawing and flowing out. We are whirls, so to say, on 3 levels, joined together, which forms our individuality. But this individuality is very precious because at the center of the whirl is the true person, the psychic being, who is using these layers of whirl to express in the universe, but also to experience the universe. Yes, Saransh. So Sarita asks, is anxiety and stress in the mind or in the brain? The primary anxiety and stress is in the life energies. as a result influencing mind, influencing emotions, and influencing biology. The life force within you, that layer where you experience desire, where you anticipate, where you expect, where you have disappointment, attachment, attraction, repulsion, that's where primary anxiety and stress come. See, your mind in itself is not too stressed. You can think of the future, and if you see something bad in your imagination, you say, okay. But the reaction is in the emotions. Oh my God. You see, it's not in the mind, it's in the emotions. And the emotions then tense your mind. They block, they cloud your mind. You can't think clearly when you're upset. So the primary knot of anxiety and stress is in the emotions, from where it influences mind and body.
Sir, I would like to ask a follow-up question.
Yes.
Sir, but science they even tell that the consciousness is also limited to the brain itself.
Yes,
They do not give any specific relevance to the mind as a thing which is beyond brain.
The science, as it emerged in Europe about, let's say, 200 years ago, came in reaction to religion, which had been so destructive in Europe that they decided to throw out everything that came with religion, including certain deeper truths. So the result was a hard turn to matter as the only reality. And they presumed, remember, it's just an assumption that mind is a product of brain process. It's an assumption. Nobody has proved that. In fact, the proof is the opposite. As you did this, simply turning your attention to your palm and so many things happen, is proof that your mind is independent of your biology, isn't it? And that it overrides the biology. And there are many more, even more dramatic proofs, which can be shown in the laboratory. But these proofs are so compelling that the scientists get upset and don't want to look at them. They will say paranormal and throw it out. But the reality is that evidence shows that mind is not a result of brain. Rather, brain works because mind acts through it. So you have to recognize that within science, there are two very distinct groups. There is the group that says intelligence is product of matter, and a group that says independent intelligence is independent of matter. And you have to choose which side you choose. As the yoga system goes much deeper than both these. It says that the mind is a substance independently existing, which can infuse into brain or even disengage. And so mind influences brain, but also that it can modify brain and matter itself. And we have many experiments, as you know, there are people who will take a spoon, concentrate on it, and it bends. Direct action of mind on matter. And there are a lot of things like that which have been demonstrated in the laboratory. So you have to go beyond these, I will say, textbook science, which is very superficial and narrow, 200 years old assumptions, which have been disproved long ago, but they're afraid to change because the reality is too much for them to face. That is why a whole new category of scientists eventually will replace who understand this truth, who can experience it, and within themselves can demonstrate, yes, look, I can shape matter with my mind, with my will. And so a whole new science will open up through that. Okay, so now I will pause with the questions and we will go with a series of exercises which I want you to explore. First, we will do an experiment where I will ask you to close your eyes and observe your thoughts. And observe how the thoughts come, how they emerge, and how they fade away. And particularly notice if there's any particular direction through which they come in. Okay? So all of you may close your eyes now and simply observe. Notice how thoughts come, they fade away, or they're replaced by other thoughts. You perhaps notice there's a direction from which most of the thoughts seem to come. Notice how you get sucked into the thought and your mind wanders off, and then you bring it back. Observe who brings it back. Which is this part which remembers and pulls back. And where is it located? You can open your eyes now. Quick feedback from a couple of people. What did you notice?
Sir, I felt that they are coming from somewhere behind, and as they come, they spread away and they merge into some kind of a place where more thoughts are there. And then, as soon as I start thinking on a particular thought, some part of my brain already remembers that I am doing this activity and it again brings that thought back.
Interesting. Which part is this? So don't use the word brain. Just observe what you said. Which part pulled back? Where was it located?
Sir, I felt it was right in the middle of my forehead, kind of.
Interesting. And remember, it's not brain. Okay, brain is a part of it. Okay, good. Anybody else? Any observations? Did anyone notice thoughts coming from the side or from below?
Sir, I observed that the thoughts were coming from the right hand side and going through and they were not fading off. They were replaced by other thoughts.
Interesting.
They were not fading off. When I put a lot of when I was continuously thinking about one thought, then it faded away.
Interesting.
So
So you
I
see, the
felt
thoughts have a character of permanence. They stick on. Of course, you can turn to other thoughts, but you can consciously dissolve them as you did also. Very interesting.
So my thoughts were not coming. They were getting blocked.
Yes.
Interesting. Because you were observing.
Yes. No thoughts coming.
No thoughts.
The moment you became aware, it's as if it stopped the natural mechanical activity of thoughts. Still, there was a thought that, oh, there are no thoughts. Isn't it? That thought was there.
Yeah.
And that came from where? Did you notice?
So it was coming from the eyes portion. I could feel something flowing inside.
I also felt that there were no thoughts. And then when I started thinking there are no thoughts, then I started experiencing a thought which was coming from my right side. And they were just a word, love, love, love. It's coming in through here.
Interesting.
I had no thoughts. And, then I consciously made an effort to think about something. But the time was too short to think.
Okay.
Absolutely blank. I had nothing.
Yes. So naturally, there was a quieting.
I was getting distracted by the sound. So from wherever I could hear the sound, I was thinking about that. Then again, I had to focus that I have to get to my thoughts.
What was pulling back? What was conscious that you were distracted but pulling back?
There was a drilling sound somewhere coming from behind.
But which part in you was conscious that you had got distracted and pulled you back?
Somewhere from behind.
Interesting. So you notice it's as if there's a mind space and there's a part which is behind the mind space, which is the part that pulls you back. So you observe in your mind space thoughts coming in, going out, or being replaced by other thoughts. And there's a part in you that gets sucked into the thought and flows from thought to thought, wandering aimlessly. And there's this part behind which says, oh no, but I'm supposed to watch. And it would pull you back and pull you back again and again. So notice how complex your normal mind actually is. First, it's a large empty space into which all kinds of junk wanders through. But there's a part behind, so to say, which is always free of the junk. And the surface part gets sucked into the junk, and the back part can say, no, I don't want to be, and can pull you back. This part, which is standing back, we will say a witness, as if a layer of witness, which is not sucked into it. Just observe. All this I'm just saying to make you aware of how complex or how interesting this whole experience is. Now, next exercise we will do. This time we will close our eyes and consciously refuse to have thoughts. As soon as a thought comes, you blank it out, push it out, hold your awareness completely silent. Even if you think, oh, now it's silent, that's a thought which you will stop and just hold silent. Okay, close your eyes. And then after a while, if you can hold the silence, let your eyes open and continue with eyes open, but holding silence, no thought. And if you find that after opening eyes, your thoughts begin to wander, again, just bring back and hold silence, no thought. Interesting. Any comments? Anyone wants to share an experience? Yes, go on.
I had to hold my breath to, stop my thoughts to come in. So I practiced that.
The breathing itself triggered activity. Okay. So work on it a little bit. You'll find after a while you can breathe slowly. The breathing will slow down, but you'll be able to hold even with that. We did it too short. I'm sorry, it's a very short period. Normally we would do this for 5 minutes, but it's enough to get you the experience. Anyone else?
I could do it, Sraddhaluji. I was concentrating on my breath. I do Vipassana. It was easier for me.
Okay.
Sir, I was feeling constant tingling at the center of the forehead. I don't know why. As soon as I
But you
started.
were able to hold the thoughtless state?
Yes, sir. Sir, I was just thinking the word
The
silence.
tingling in the center of forehead is because that's the natural focal point for thinking mind. So it was fully activated because your focus was fully on that. See? Interesting. That's the Ajna Chakra. You've heard the term.
Sir, I closed my eyes. When you said to close your eyes, I closed them. So for some time, I didn't have any thought, and I began to think. I am having no thoughts, and then soon more of them came.
Interesting. Yes. Because the moment you started thinking, this is nice, no thought, you engaged with thought. Instead, you can hold without thinking. Okay. So this is just a very simple exercise. We did a very short time. I would normally ask you to do this on your own for a while longer. Play with this, and you'll find very quickly you can hold this state of no thought, maybe for a minute, 2 minutes, maybe longer. Initially, you may be a little tense, then you consciously relax, and then you can hold your mind quiet without thoughts, without difficulty. So someone commented that she was doing the breathing exercise. And that's another way by which you can quiet your mind. You become aware of the breathing, feel the air going in, and follow the air movement. And because your mind is occupied with an awareness, it stays busy, but the thoughts can become quiet. That's another way to do it. Okay? So this is just to give you a broad idea of various methods with which you can learn to control your thoughts, redirect them, and so on. All this, remember, are small steps to be able to master your mind. The day you can control your thoughts and choose what you think and choose what you don't think, you'll find you can put your full mind power on a single thought, and then it acts like a laser beam. If you take a normal bulb, which is 40 watts, okay, not much, even 20-watt bulb, it's enough to light up quite brightly your room. But the light is so faint that it does not do anything. It just lights up, you can see. But the same 20 watts or 40 watts, if you were to narrow into a single narrow beam of what we call a laser, that is enough to melt through steel. Your normal 20-watt bulb or 40-watt bulb has enough light to be able to cut through steel, where it's all spread out and scattered. You narrow it down to a single beam and it will cut through, and it will go for several kilometers. That's the power of light. And this is an analogy of your mind. Your mind scattered fritters away, wastes its power. Your mind redirected to a single thought, your thought has the power to cut through steel, literally. So this practice of thought control will be very helpful if you take it in this way, as a form of training of your power of mind, power of concentration, will, etc. will follow as a result automatically. So this was just one simple exercise. I will close with one exercise that I want to lead you through of concentration, which is focusing above the head. Now, as you saw, there's a natural focus here. All of you, when you were conscious of your thinking, you were here or centered in the mind awareness, somewhere in this region. Uh, Above the head is the center which opens out to higher levels of consciousness, particularly the intuition. And this is where also your individual awareness opens out to something which is a huge, vast ocean of awareness, which is also peace, a deep, dense peace, which is above the head, which opens out like that. And one of the most powerful practices in the yoga is the concentration above the head, and then invoking the peace to come and settle in your brain and then in your whole body. So this is an exercise which I would like you to do. We will go through it just now. And mostly after that, you may not feel like speaking too much. But if we have a chance, we will briefly discuss. But I want it to be the last activity that we do. So just maybe I will do a recapitulation at the end. So place yourself on your chair comfortably in a way that you can lean back comfortably so that you don't have any tension in the body. You should be able to relax your whole body fully. And it'll be important to close the eyes. Some of you did the earlier exercises with eyes open, but this one, it'll be important that you close your eyes. So take a slow, deep breath and relax your body. And when you're fully relaxed, close your eyes. And very slowly now, very gradually, let your awareness drift towards the top of the head. Gather at the center and the top of the head, as if there's a little hole over there. And continue to gather until all your awareness is centered at the top. And when you're fully centered at the top, very gently let your awareness turn upward, opening upward like a flower, opening to the sense of a vast presence above the head. Remain conscious of a sense of a vast presence, peace, as if a vast ocean of awareness. And as you remain aware of it, let it grow more dense, more vivid, more intense. As if a dense, vast ocean of peace, presence, remain immersed in this. Until gradually, very gradually, you begin to feel it softly pressing down at the top of the head. As if gently settling at the top of the head, like a soft pressure. and slowly, very gradually, let it settle and let it flow down, as if entering the head through the top, following with your awareness, allowing it to spread downward, filling the upper part of the head bit by bit. As if a soft, soothing sensation, as if a dense, liquid peace or presence slowly spreading down into your brain, spreading a soothing, perhaps cooling or warming sensation, spreading down to fill your brain. As if a dense liquid that is slowly spreading, following with your awareness, let it fill the whole brain and let it flow down further into the rest of the head. Following with your awareness, leading with your awareness, spreading further down until gradually it spreads down into the entire head. And gently let it spread down further into the neck. Very gently now, very slowly, once again, let your awareness drift towards the top of the head. Gently gathering once again at the top of the head. And when you feel yourself fully centered at the top, let your awareness once again turn upward, opening out to the vast ocean above. Ocean of dense presence, peace. Remain aware until it begins to grow more and more dense, vivid, intense. Vast ocean of peace, presence, dense. And very gently, gradually, let a fresh wave of the presence flow down through the top of the head, as if through a large hole, following with your awareness as it flows down to fill your brain, as if with a dense liquid substance. Conscious of its denseness, presence, peace, flowing down further into the rest of the head. Flowing down further into the neck. Spreading downward through the neck. Spreading a soothing sensation. and gently spreading further into the chest. Spreading down into the upper part of the chest. Dense, soothing presence, sensation. And gently following with your awareness, let it overflow into the arms. Flowing down through the upper arms. Flowing down into the forearms and into the hands. As if a dense presence or peace filling the hands and forearms and fingers. And let them continue to fill. Until they grow as if heavy with the presence and peace. Until your hands grow heavy, fingers grow heavy with dense presence, peace, soothing. And very slowly, gradually, let the peace overflow around the fingers, as if your fingers and hands are swelling up with the presence. As if you're wearing thick, heavy gloves. Swollen fingers, swollen hands, swollen forearms, dense with presence and peace. Becoming conscious of this swollen hands, swollen fingers, swollen arms. Peace, presence filling and surrounding the fingers, hands, and arms. Becoming conscious of your shoulders also. Filled with peace, surrounded with peace, your neck. Swollen with presence, your head. Swollen with presence, dense with presence. And gently let your awareness settle once again at the top of the head. Gradually gathering all your awareness at the top. And when you feel yourself entirely centered at the top, once again gently turn upward, opening upward, becoming conscious of the vast ocean of peace, presence above the head. Dense, intense, vivid. Remain immersed in this. Enjoying the immersion in vast ocean of peace and presence. And very gently, very gradually, let it settle at the top of the head. And let a fresh wave of the presence and peace flow down, filling and surrounding the head, filling your brain and surrounding your brain, following with your awareness, spreading downward more and more through the rest of the head, surrounding and filling, spreading down into the neck, surrounding and filling, spreading down into the chest, filling and surrounding, filling and surrounding the swollen arms and hands and fingers, and gently let it spread down further through the chest, leading and following with your awareness, spreading down into the entire region of the lungs in the chest, dense presence, peace, as if a soothing liquid presence. And let it flow down into the abdominal region, following with your awareness. Soft, dense, soothing presence, peace, settling in your abdomen, spreading down into the intestines, spreading a soothing sensation, spreading down into the hips and into the thighs. Spreading down through the knees into the calves. All the way down to the feet. Spreading a soothing, dense presence, until gradually let it overflow, surrounding the feet, surrounding the calves and shin, as if your feet are swelling up, your legs are swelling up, dense with peace and presence, as if you're wearing thick, heavy boots. Until you're conscious of your legs and feet swollen, dense with presence and peace. Conscious of the abdomen and chest, swollen, dense with peace and presence. Conscious of your arms and hands and fingers, swollen, dense with peace and presence. Conscious of your shoulders, neck and head, swollen, dense with presence and peace, until you're aware of your entire body swollen as if wearing a spacesuit of dense presence and peace. And gently let this peace grow more intense, more dense. Remain immersed in this. As if your entire body is a marble statue of peace, dense with peace, filling and surrounding. Notice that your mind is naturally silent without effort. You can think if you want, but if you choose to not think, you can just hold your awareness completely silent without thought. Effortlessly. Stay in this thoughtless awareness. Enjoy this thoughtless awareness. This swollen form of the body which you are experiencing is the denser part of your own subtle body, Sukshma Deha. We call it the subtle physical. Simply remain aware of it. Remain aware of the peace. And infuse an intention that this peace should always remain within you as a backdrop, as the base. Very slowly now, very gradually, you will prepare yourself to open your eyes, maintaining this poise of peace throughout, even after you open your eyes. Hold this intention. Slowly become conscious of your eyelids and your eyes, your eyeballs. Remaining fully aware of the peace within you, let your eyelids half open and then close again. Notice how the state changes. Becoming conscious of the peace that fills your whole being. Deepening in the peace. Once again, you will let your eyelids half open, but this time you will leave them open. Let your eyelids half open, but remain conscious of the peace that fills your whole being. Effortlessly. Let your eyes half open, remaining still inwardly centered in the peace and the presence. Notice that even with your eyes open, you can remain without thought if you choose to. You can think if you choose to, and then you can choose to not think and stay quiet. Simply aware without thought. Effortless. Perhaps you feel a little numb in the mind. That happens when your mind is completely silent in the beginning. But later you will find it's a great power to think only of what you want. But the numbness is in the rest of the body slightly because your awareness is much more in the subtle body and the peace that is filling it. Stay like this as much as you can, even after this session. If you like, close your eyes and lean back into the peace. And for the rest of the evening, you will find if you simply close your eyes, you will be able to feel this peace that fills you. There are a couple of important observations. You notice that what descends in you is substantial. It is substance. You feel it as a dense substance as it spreads within you, isn't it? And wherever it settles, it automatically makes everything quiet. Your mind becomes quiet without any effort. Your emotions become quiet. Your body feels in a mild, pleasant way, slightly numb, cool, relaxed. And what descends from above does this automatically, without any effort on your part. Simply notice. And it's an exercise you can do on your own whenever you choose to. If you can, try to do it at least once in a while, whenever you need to. And hold this poise of thoughtless awareness, hold this base of peace that fills you. Increasingly, as this settles within you, you will find you will be unaffected by any external disturbances. You will be able to remain always clear, focused, concentrated whenever you choose to. It's a very powerful exercise. One of the natural effects of it is in the silencing of the mind, it amplifies the power of the mind and opens you to intuition, what we had discussed earlier. So I've left you with many different exercises to experiment with, play with it, and work on some of the things we discussed earlier, becoming conscious of the deeper layers within you, the turn through the heart in devotion, in love, the opening to the presence above the head in this way, as we just did. Start your day with a concentration in the heart, dedicating all that you will do to Mother India, the Divine Mother, or whatever form of deity that is natural to you. With these very simple basic practices, your intelligence will amplify, your strength will grow, the love in your heart will blossom out, and all your capacities will bloom. As I said this morning, you're in a phase of life where your body is still growing. So everything that you do now will leave a deep imprint and stay with you for life. We have broadly covered in our discussion today very important ideas, but most importantly among them, in summary, that within you, all the potential is there. It is the same potential, identical with the creative power of the divine. And that's why you can create new things, and you are not limited by your biology or your circumstances. Within you, you have come with everything necessary to be able to fulfill your life, whatever your highest aspiration, ambition, or desire, dream, and turn within for the strength, the knowledge, and the love for the capacity to flower out. I think that's a good point to pause upon.
Many a time when I meditate on a regular basis, but most of the time I find myself now, I tend to fall asleep. But then I wake up immediately, I come back to it, but then I again try. I just keep falling asleep. I'm sick and tired of myself. I do everything. I tried meditating at 4
It
in the
depends
morning.
on what you're trying to do during the meditation. You see, the mind wanders easily, but also the turn inward puts you in a subjective state which your body associates with sleep. And so the body says, I'm tired, I need to sleep. So of course, ideally you do these things when you're most fresh. You're probably doing it in the evening when you're quite tired after the day. And so the natural tendency is also to sleep. But do it at a time when you're fresh, but also what you do is important. So a practice like this where you're actively doing something, you will find you don't drift into sleep so easily. It is also possible to do a similar exercise with eyes open. Then that prevents the sleep. All depends on what is your priority and what is the form in which you do the practice. You see, like I said, meditation is a general word. Many things can be done under that umbrella term. So change what you do.
Thank you.
Any of the students would like to share their experience with this movement of the peace?
I felt like what is happening with me. I had no thoughts this time. My brain was completely blank, and I thought this was not me because I have hundreds and thousands of thoughts in a day, and especially when I close my eyes, I have so many thoughts. I am very pareshan with myself. I have so many thoughts, especially during the meditation time, also in the school, when our teachers tell us to close our eyes and relax. At that time also, I had so many thoughts, who is the next teacher coming up and everything. I felt this is not me. That I was completely blank and after 2 minutes also when you told that we can open our eyes, I thought that I was completely in shock that how can I do this for such a long time? Because I was never very blank for such a long time. I cannot express that what I was I feeling. It
Yes.
was so I just want to thank you, sir. Thank
Okay.
you.
You notice you could also feel this thing in the hands. You could feel the denseness of it in the hands.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So it
So you
was
know it is substantial and it brings the stillness and silence. Okay. And so remember one thing. You said this is not you. Actually, it's the opposite. This is more truly you. And the activity superficially with which you identify normally is not you. That's more like a superficial habit.
Sir, I closed my eyes for a few seconds. My eyes were hurting. So then, soon enough, I felt that something was above my head, and I generally feel it when I'm sleeping or I'm tired of doing work. So, sir, I felt that something is just above my head. So then, afterwards, when you said to shift it, I had a lot of problem in doing that. I had to concentrate more on what I was feeling above the head. So then I could shift it till my hands, and then my eyes began to open.
Yes. But you could feel the denseness in the hands also.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
Immediately
I
your
felt.
internal state changes.
Yes, sir.
Can you still feel the peace? You will just try this. Close your eyes and you will feel, it's still there inside you. Notice, it's not gone away. It's actually a substance that has filled you. If you work on this regularly, and especially when this descends into your brain and the rest of your body, one of the results will be not only that your mind will naturally become silent, but also the power of intelligence will amplify. This combined with certain exercises, we can raise the IQ, intelligence, by at least 20 to 30 points without difficulty. So these are very powerful exercises and which will have a lifelong for you. There's a YouTube channel called Integral Studies where many of my talks are put up. Well, most of my talks are put up. If you go to that channel and search for the keyword meditation or descent of peace, you will find there's one upload which was sometime put up, I think, in September last year, which has this whole process much longer, much more detailed, and with further discussion, which you will find useful. If you need, you can use this as a recording to help in your holding your concentration. I think for the person who said also that the mind wanders or you get sleepy, if you use a recording like this, you will find it helpful to keep your focus. And later you can do without the recording.
My body is still numb. Initially,
Yes.
I felt that I'm getting connected to my body, and later I started feeling like as if something is holding me. I'm not in control. My body is not in my control. Something is holding me. I could feel some positive energy.
Yes. It is as if you felt it surrounding you, that like a dense cocoon holding you. In fact, because your body is the physical body is only up to here, your subtle body extends around. So what you felt holding you was the presence of the subtle body which contains the physical body. That was also filled with peace, and therefore you became aware of it. Many of you felt this. These are very important experiences. There were a couple of comments from Sarthak and Aviral about the effect, the calm, peaceful. Yes, you cannot express it also. It's difficult to describe what you experience, but it feels so good, isn't it? It feels so satisfying.
Sir, I was feeling really peaceful while practicing this, and it felt as if somebody was controlling me. Like I was not doing that; somebody was controlling me. I was controlled by someone.
Yes. So it's not somebody, it is your own higher presence, the inner and higher ranges that we spoke of, that are filling you and carrying you like this. It is yourself in your own deeper and higher parts.
Sraddhalu, in our school, every day, in every period break, there's a 2-minute time when we are silent, when there is silence time. So around 8 times a day. And we play mother's music for just those 2 minutes between the period break. So if you could guide us, is this what we should be doing, what you've taught us today?
Depends. So if you have just had a class where you've studied something, then perhaps you could use those 2 minutes to what you've experienced just now, lean back into this stillness within you, but with the intention that all that you have studied now, you assimilate, draw together as if you're holding in a big picture before you. Oh, we did this, this, and the big picture you hold and allow it to settle in and soak in. That would be a use in the school context. It would be a better use. You could also use this time to, having soaked in, you let go now and then prepare for your next. But I think a better use will be to allow it to assimilate. You see, the mind learns in 3 steps. That first you absorb something, and then there's a period where you do nothing, and internally the consciousness, the inner layers, they start organizing and rearranging the knowledge and integrating. That is an assimilative period. If you don't spend time for that, you will lose whatever you've learned. So this period of 2 or 3 minutes of quietness, concentration, just review with no special strain or effort and allow it to soak in and assimilate. That would be the best use at that time for academic purpose. But at home, you can do this as a way of resting or also as a way of opening to the higher intuition and your own higher creativity. You can, for example, concentrate above the head and open to this presence. And then from there, you let it flow. And with the flow, you start your work. You start writing an essay or a poem or do the activity as if flowing from there. And you'll find you'll be lifted into a different level.
So then even after this talk, when we have the 2-minute silence, what we should be doing is assimilate all that we've heard, put it together and
that would be perfect. Yes.
Offer it to the greater mind.
And there are a few comments from Vinita, still enjoying the peace, and Shlok, didn't have any thoughts. Yes, this is the interesting thing. It was effortless. When the peace settles, spontaneously, effortlessly, your mind can remain silent. And this is to tell you actually how easy it is when you're helped from above. So earlier we did the exercise to make the mind silent with effort. It's strenuous. That's the difficult way. But when you open like this to receive the peace is an active power. It's an active presence which brings the silence automatically. So I'll also make a different observation here. Peace is different from silence. Silence is lack of activity. Peace is an active presence. It's a power of the self, of your own higher consciousness, which changes all your working. So you cannot be silent and speak at the same time. But you can hold the peace and speak at the same time, or you can work. And this should be your normal state eventually. Good. I think this should be enough for today. Quickly recapitulate. We spoke about very important things about what is within you as a potential, and meditation as a way of opening to that deeper potential. And yoga, you've understood the deeper sense of the yoga, uniting with your own highest potential, with your divine source, so that you can express it and accelerate your evolution consciously. This is what we are here for in this life. And it should be possible for you to achieve in your one lifetime the equivalent of at least 1,000 lifetimes by such psychological means. The knowledge is there in our traditions, and there's a very rich body of very practical hints, advice, and practices you will find in the writings of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Do read them. Particularly, I will suggest for you to read from some of Mother's questions and answers, because these were classes she took with children, some of them of your age. So it's very accessible, very interesting. Many different topics are covered, very practical also. Do read these things and you will find them very useful in your life. There's one particular series of classes she took, which is in a book called Commentaries on the Dhammapada, which is a Buddhist text, and she takes a few verses from there which deal with mind mastery. And she teaches you practices for mastering your mind and mastering of your thoughts. And they're again very simple. They were addressed to children of your age. So do read these things, put them into practice. Even if you put 1/10 of it in practice, you will find the benefit so immense. And then, of course, if you have the interest you practice much more. But just a little bit and it will change your life.
Could you please repeat the name of the commentaries on the
On the
Dhammapada?
Dhammapada. Dhammapada. It's an entire volume in itself. But otherwise, just the questions and answers you will enjoy greatly.
So question and answers is which volumes of
There
the
are 4 volumes of them.
4
And they're
volumes.
called questions and answers in French entretien. So you can even, what you could do is you take selective passages from there and put it up on the board for people to read, or if you share things on the email, once a week you put some topic, or just put a link to it on the website that they can go and read if they want.
I would heartily thank you, sir, on behalf of all of us for the enriching session. And I would just quickly summarize everything. So you said that we can never be greater than what we are made of. And we are not just a product of our circumstances. When we learn something new, that is when our growth occurs. And if we go deep enough and identify our consciousness, we can experience the whole universe in ourselves. So that is what you said. And then you told us about the desire, then to know and to act, which is the Ichha Shakti, the Gyan Shakti, and the Kriya Shakti. And sir, you also told us about science says that energy is without a source. But yoga, the union, says that energy is with a conscious source. It comes from within us, and it is we who have to turn and we have to open ourselves to it, so that we can adapt it and so that we can use it in a better way. And sir, all the 3 exercises that we did with you, the one was closing our eyes and clearing our thoughts, and the second was closing our eyes and identifying from where the thoughts are arriving and where the thoughts are going, and the third one, which was the, I think, the best of all, where we let the peace, like it is a flame, we let it come inside us, we let it spread itself in ourselves, and we let every bit of it go to every part of our body, and we are still experiencing it bit by bit. So I would just like to thank you, sir, for all that, and we surely want to hear more from you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So just half a minute of silence.